Welcome to FFC Top 3, a show where we, your FFC hosts, count things down from 3 to number 1. Thank you for joining us this week. If you have a suggestion for a topic for Top 3, as always, you can find us on Twitter, in Discord, at FocusFireChat, or in our Discord, Gmail, FocusFireChat@gmail.com. There's all the different places you can find us. This week, we are talking about our top 3 bad habits. And this one did not take very long for me to figure out. I don't know about you two. We have Blue here, as always. And then we also have our guest of the evening, Mr. JoPaWrites. Jopa, I'm gonna actually make you go first, sir. What is your number 3 bad habit?
Number 3 bad habit that I have never been able to kick is biting my nails. It's something that I've done. I don't know why. It's not a nervous thing, although it kind of is. It's just I feel like I'm always active with my hands, so it's something that I've tried to stop doing several times, and I don't even notice it when it's happening often. So that's probably number 3.
Nice. It's biting fingernails is just like a super common one, and I get it. It's one of mine as well. It is definitely one of mine. Blue, what is your number 3 bad habit?
My bad habit, or my number 3 blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to say blah, blah, blah. Speaking, apparently. No, is being often blunt in conversation. No, not at all. I constantly am getting told that it's like, you need to be more diplomatic. I'm like, that's a waste of time because I don't care. But yeah, no, that's one of my bad habits is I just usually just don't really couch conversations. I'm not a big fan of that. So.
Okay. I don't know how that is because I grew up being very diplomatic. Like my whole family is super, super diplomatic. So the utter bluntness, and this is something that's really a conversation Julie and I have had many times because her family is very similar to you. They are blunt. They get it out of the way. It is out in the open. My family, we like hem-haw, and it's very light and polite, and it's a lot of diplomatic posturing.
Right. And it's so funny. Yeah. It's like, because Black Flag actually is bringing up a point too. I think I've said this before, is like in person, I'm much more introverted, like, which is funny because we do the podcast, but like, the thing that I like try to remind people of when I tell people that I do a podcast, it actually honestly really surprises them because I don't talk much when I'm actually in person usually, unless it's something that I'm comfortable or that I'm knowledgeable about, then I'll talk. But if it's something like chit chat and stuff, I don't enjoy it and I don't really participate in it, which is off-putting to a lot of people, which is weird to me because to me it's just, if you don't have anything to say, just don't say anything. But like I'm very introverted in person, which is really kind of funny because they're talking about that actually in chat right now. They're like, but you host a podcast? So
you have an objective in the podcast though. That helps.
Yeah, no. And that's what I was going to say too, is like, because the podcast is so focused on specific topics, like, we come into this particular thing knowing what we're going to talk about. So even tangents aside, which actually, I mean, even the tangents really are related insofar as the overall topic as well. But yeah.
Plus, it's mostly communicating with people that you're familiar with and not like generally people on the street. I've seen that with a lot of people is once they get comfortable, it's so much easier to open up and actually have those conversations compared to if there's a group of 4 or 5 and you don't know half of them, you know?
Right. No, and that's exactly, and that hits on my introverted nature. Like that to me is, if I don't recognize people, I'm not very open. Like I don't come across, I don't know how I come across, but I know like within professional circles, I don't come across as very open because usually I'm so focused on fixing the problems that I have in front of me that I don't have time to kind of be like, oh, hey, how's the weather? Like Yeah,
I get you on that one. If I can be very personable in person. I can be very, very much so the crowd center of attention kind of person if I need to be. When I'm out with Julie, I prefer not. I like to take this back seat with that for sure, because it's easier in some ways, because it's more draining to be on all the time, entertainer all the time. But my number 3 is something that drives my wife crazy, as it is the fact that I leave random items in places that they don't go. So shoes, keys. I kid you not, I have left my keys in the refrigerator at one point.
That's great.
It's shoes and keys are like the most common one, or my wallet. My wallet will be wherever in the house. There's no rhyme or reason for it. I have to have very specific locations where I'm supposed to put it. I made a car key hook thing that has like our name on it. It's really pretty. My car keys are right now sitting on a window ledge in the stairwell instead, because I'm bad about putting it where it's supposed to go.
Yeah. What's hilarious is my wife was actually just telling me that I do the same thing pretty much every day, and it's the same thing, keys and wallet.
Mm-hmm.
And today, she was like, I was looking for the keys, and she's like, you probably left them on some random table. So I looked at all the tables around the house. It was in the bedroom on the side table, even though we, like you, have a hook for them. So I feel your pain on that 100%.
Oh, yeah. There's like my wife at one point decided she's just like, I'm going to get you this little, it's essentially a pager for your keys that you put this little car key hook on your keys, and then it connects to an app on your phone, and you can set it off
They're
to
very
where
useful.
you can look.
I want to get one for my child.
I may or may not have been one of those for a Christmas present last year.
Oh gosh, but yeah, it's such a bad habit of mine just to leave all over the place. It just doesn't make sense. But we're up to number 2 now, Mr. JoPa.
Chat.
Terrible.
Green, you should be Bungie's consultant for placing collectibles.
That is, Baru, if you'd like to petition Bungie to hire me for that, I would be very appreciative.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Oh my goodness.
All right. So my number 2, I have a terrible habit of opening social media, like looking at my phone, not really actually looking at anything, closing it, and then like less than a minute later, just reopening it and just kind of perusing it. Like I know there's nothing there that I want or need to do, but habitually I just kind of open it and just kind of I'm like, oh, look at this, and then it's still open, and I do that far too often, even when I'm not even paying attention. I'm watching a show, and I'll look down and I'll just have it open for no apparent reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. It's my wife has to get onto me. We have no social media time where I have to put my phone down.
Green's wife's going to construct a Faraday cage around their house.
Yeah, I hope not. That would be really depressing. Lou, what is your number 2?
One of my, kind of ties into my number 3, but being impatient. Like I said, I don't really chit chat. So it's not, but it's not just with conversations. Like I usually, again, kind of my personality is I try to find the most efficient way to do stuff, and then I try to get it done as quickly as possible. And that's like everything. And it drives people up the wall because I don't operate on, oh, hey, let's sit back and enjoy this. If I'm not doing something and working on something, I actually get really anxious. So that's really fun when I have vacation, because it's like I need to be doing something, even if it's not something like hugely important. I just need to have a project going.
It takes practice to slow down. When I was teaching, I was very much so the same way, but now that I'm not teaching, I've been able to find moments where I can just kind of sit down and have a cup of coffee on a porch in the early morning and just slow down, not think about it. Now, granted, I'm terrible and have my phone out and I'm looking at social media, seeing what Bife and Log and everybody else is talking about for that day, but it's hard to slow down sometimes. My number 2 is, and it is kind of a weird one because it's very specific. I've been teaching an 18-year-old boy how to drive, helping out a friend of ours, friend of the family, teaching him how to drive. And driving in a city where I'm at now is very different than what I grew up doing, because I grew up in small town Kansas. Very, very small town. And the thing that I started thinking about habits that I have, or habits that I grew up doing, and country town turns or country road turns, meaning you don't use a turn signal because there's nobody for like 5 miles, and it just feels silly to turn on a turn signal for nobody else. Or I find myself sometimes doing that in city, where I'm getting ready to turn or merge into a different lane and I forget to turn on my turn signal. Now, I've gotten better since I've lived here for about a year, but the habits that you get into, like you don't stop at stop signs in the country sometimes because there's nobody around. You're alone. There's like, you fishtail around corners and you race out there and
or you do
things that are
a rolling
probably
stop,
illegal.
right?
Oh yeah. Like, I don't know. The worst thing you have to worry about in country roads or dirt roads are semi trucks during harvest season.
Yes.
That's about it. And the rest of the time, I have on more than one occasion, because the school that I went to was about 2.5 miles from the town I grew up in. And it was in essentially dead center between two towns in the middle of a cornfield. And I would end up being late for school, lo and behold, or late for choir practice in the morning. And so I would zip across, and there was a train. I would try to beat the train, because country roads don't have the nice little cross barriers that you can avoid. So I would zip down the country roads, fishtailing around corners to beat the train so I can get to school on time. Never had too close of calls. And if it was getting close, I would definitely stop. But I've beaten the train on more than one time. So bad habits of driving. I am a good driver. I will say that. Like, everyone who's like, oh my God, I'm never riding with her. Yeah, no, I'm actually a very good driver. It's just I grew up being a terrible driver because of that. But number 1 bad habits. We are there already, ladies and gentlemen. JoPa, start us off.
My number 1 bad habit is I am a hardcore procrastinator. I work best when I have a very limited time schedule. Mm-hmm. When I have a deadline and I know I need to knock something out like right away. If you give me a week to get something done, I'm going to wait till the very end of the week to get it done, more than likely. Yeah. It's a major problem. Again, the wife yells at me pretty often for it. Not really yells, she just kind of gets on me because she knows like it will only take me about half hour to do something, but I'll wait for so long. And I don't understand why I do it often. I'm just like, I can do it in a little bit. And that's one of my big downfalls is I always have ideas and things I want to do and need to do, and I just will put it off until I have to do it.
Oh yeah. I've gotten better about being on top of things and chunking away little bits at a time, because pulling the all-nighters, doing the thing at the last minute sucks. Except for cleaning. Cleaning is always a last minute thing. Just, it's an unfortunate reality, but I don't know. Life gets in the way. You want to do other things. Blue.
Exactly.
Yeah, mine's actually along the same lines. I don't know if you want to call it procrastination or just like a prioritization of things differently than what probably is important.
That is a nice way of saying you're putting other things ahead of your procrastinating.
Yeah, right. And it's not, because I mean, the thing is like when I say procrastination, I kind of get the feeling of like, I don't know, like it gives me the sense that you're not doing anything necessarily. Mm-hmm. And that's not really what I'm doing. I just put other things ahead of what I should be doing. And like, I have so many projects going on at any given time, you know, that sometimes it's like, I don't really want to do that project. I'd rather do, you know, something with the focus fire, you know, something like not necessarily air quote important.
Right. It's just,
but again, I don't know if that,
it's not as
it's like, I don't know,
I
don't know the really terminology for it. I don't even know if it's necessarily I guess it's a bad habit. I don't know. I have a difference in prioritization.
Yeah. My number one is related to cell phones and my addiction of looking at new apps that are going to help things be more efficient. I was actually just telling Jopa about an app that will automatically tweet out when a new YouTube video on your channel has gone up.
Yeah. Is that what that link is for?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that app. I love that app. It does a lot more than that.
Oh, it does. It links different platforms that don't normally go together, which is great. And it also does like house wide things too.
And you can, so the app in question that Green is talking about is If This Then That, or If, I think is what it's called now.
Oh yeah.
Like they've actually gone through. I've actually had that app since I think they were in their beta stage. I absolutely love that app because basically what it does is it takes various platforms and various programs of different things, and it reduces it down to a simple if then that statement.
It's a command statement.
Yeah, but it basically helps you kind of pseudo hack different things. And they've gotten to a point now where they have, smart homes, you have gosh man, you can do all sorts of crazy stuff. My phone, I actually have it on my phone, and it automatically, I have my phone set up so that it automatically turns off the ringer during work hours. And so
turns on Wi-Fi when you get within a certain radius of your home, and turns it off when you leave.
Yep, you can geotag, or you can geolocate things depending on your phone model. And so if I'm pulling out of if I'm not at home, my phone can automatically set up so it's turning on Bluetooth, and it turns off Wi-Fi automatically. So I don't have to do it. I don't have to even think about that entire process.
It's super handy.
You can do stuff where, like, if you're on your phone and you are like within 10 minutes of your home, if you have a smart home, it'll automatically turn on the lights. It'll automatically reconfigure the settings for whatever apps that you have. I mean, it's very, very robust, and it's absolutely free. That's the other thing that's just amazing about it. But yeah, Twitter has Twitter, YouTube. I think they have Reddit in there. I mean, it's very robust.
This is called If Then That, and I can put a link in chat for those that are there right now. It's IfTT.com. That is the easy way to do it, and you can find it on Google Play Store, or I'm pretty sure you can find it on iPhone and whatnot as well, or the Apple Store.
Yeah, I think it's with the iOS too. I think because I'm pretty sure it does iOS stuff. But I mean, the cool thing is it also makes writing the script. It's basically script writing, but it makes writing the scripts. It's one of the most user friendly apps out there, I would say. It makes doing some really cool stuff really super easy, which is why it's so widely popular. But you can get there's stuff you can do with like notifications for the Library of Congress, the American Psychology Association. There's all sorts of stuff. RSS feeds is a big one that we have. Pretty much. You can even
tweet NASA photos for you as soon as NASA tweets them.
Pretty much all the webhooks in the Discord that we have for Focus Fire are run through that platform.
Fair warning, though, sometimes they're called recipes. They get shut off, and so you have to go back and you fix them or whatnot. But as far as like productivity apps and stuff like that, I have my bad habit is actually downloading a ton of new ones and looking at them, trying them out, getting bored with them, and then leaving them on my phone. And so I have folders upon folders of apps that I do not use, but I have them in case.
In case.
You never know.
You never know. They might come out with an update that makes it great, but the problem is I've never gone back into those apps. Like, I could pull up my phone right now, and I've got folders. I've got probably 13 different folders. I have a folder for health thing. I think this last thing I used in my health folder was All Trails, and that was 2 months ago. And I have things in here that I haven't used since probably 2 years ago. But yeah, I collect applications, guys. So send me your favorite application. I would like to try it and then never use it again. But
wow.
I mean, some things are obviously they're good and you use them more often and whatnot. I just have a bad habit of just not deleting the old stuff that I don't use. that being said, I think we've gone all the way through our normal bad habits. Did you guys have anything that didn't quite make your top 3 list that you would consider a bad habit that you care to share?
I mean, yeah.
Okay. Go for it, Blue.
Mine is I have like an unhealthy addiction to finding memes and GIFs.
Yes, you do. Especially supernatural ones.
Yeah, I might be able to hold entire conversations without saying a word. Like, I have done that before, and my wife cannot. Brother? Yeah, my brother and I have the same problem. But I'll do it to my wife all the time, and she gets so mad. It makes me kind of happy, but I get in so much trouble. Because I'm constantly looking. That's the thing, is like I will, like, I'll be in the middle of a conversation and I'll just be like, I'll be browsing my phone looking for stuff.
You may have started doing that in our freaking private chat with your, like, the 3-way chat that we
have.
Yeah,
I found
which we use for business.
I found out that Google has on their Google keyboard, they have the option to search against Giphy. That was bad news for everybody.
Every answer I got was a supernatural GIF, specifically supernatural.
Yeah, oh yeah, because they're like they're like the Bible of GIFs. Like, they have ridiculous amounts.
Jopa, what about you? Do you have any also rans?
I mean, I think a lot of my other bad habits are pretty common. Like, I have a tendency to always be looking for new games before I finish my old games. I think that's something that a lot of people have an issue with, and I'm pretty bad about it. Like, today there was a under $10 PSN sale that I might have been perusing, even though I know I don't have time to play any of the games.
Right.
So,
gosh, one of mine is I press really hard down on my left thumbstick and I break the thumbsticks. Especially Destiny. I've had to replace probably 5 different thumbsticks on my SCUF controller for my Xbox, and I'm a little worried because I don't think there's a replacement option on my PlayStation controller, and it's starting to, like, show the cracks of the immense amount of pressure I put on that left thumbstick, because my right one's fine. Like, I don't press hard on that one, but apparently I think if you press down harder on the left one, you'll run faster.
you keep
I'm sure that's how it works,
right? Yeah, that's how it works, right? That's how I wish I would be the queen of running.
You hear a little
fast
snap.
I've never snapped one in half. I have pushed the rubber off of the thumbstick enough to where it will rip in the middle of the game.
Oh my God. We did that with Smash Brothers. That was what we always broke. We broke controllers because of the roughness with controllers. Like, not necessarily like throwing or anything like that, but like literally because we would be doing pretty much what you're talking about. We'd get so intense that we'd be so hyped up. So do you, like, break the controller or just wear down the thumbstick?
I wear down the rubber on the thumbsticks.
Oh, okay.
Really easily.
So you're not like literally breaking it. You're just
okay. I basically rip the rubber off of it because of just too much pressure. And initially it starts out as warping the left thumbstick because my SCUF is actually fine right now. I would take a picture of it, but my PlayStation 1 is in the house that I've been house sitting, so I can't take a picture of that one. But it warps to where there's a big divot off to the left of the thumbstick, because that's where I set my thumb. I have it kind of set off to the side where I play. But yeah, SCUF has gotten a lot of purchasing power out of me because I've had to replace multiple thumbsticks from them. And yes, you also have to tilt your controller in driving games. It is the rule. I may also duck during Crucible.
If Green's going to have an advantage on all of us when this finally goes to VR, because she lives the playing style.
I do. Doom, I just saw your picture. That is exactly what my controllers end up looking like.
I may have dodged a shot while I was streaming that my buddy ended up clipping. That was pretty great. Like, I almost went completely out of the frame. And
Rockets.
I mean, it worked. Didn't get hit.
Rockets are the worst. You see the rocket or a Jotun shot. Jotuns are the worst right now in Crucible.
Yes.
You see them
100%.
coming at you and you're like ducking. I do it in my car too. That's the other thing is I duck randomly while we're driving. If there's a bird coming at us, I duck.
Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. But
It's just it's just my reflexes. I've got on point reflexes, guys. It just doesn't make sense when I use them.
it just doesn't make sense.
That's great.
But
her reflex speed is amazing. Her brain just misfires when it should use them.
Hey, like instinctually, if a bird's coming at your car, it theoretically, if it had enough force, could break your windshield and come flying at your face.
So I have a really funny story about that exact thing. When I was apprenticing for horseshoeing, one of the guys that I apprenticed under, he was a former Marine, but one of the times that he was driving, I think he was in Montana or Utah. It was one of the northern states. But he was driving back from a job really late, about 2 a.m. and he was nearly home. And it was like, so he was a couple hours out. So he was nearly home and it was about 5 or 6 or early in the morning. The sun was just starting to kind of lighten the everything. And so there were a lot of birds, flying around. And he said that he was driving and he saw a bird kind of flying towards him and he didn't really think anything of it. And it hit his windshield and it cracked his windshield. And he was like, And so he keeps driving. He doesn't think anything about it. And he said when he gets home, he gets out of his car and he goes around to check the damage, and it's a woodpecker. And it had lodged itself. It had killed it.
No.
It was dead because it snapped its own neck, but it had lodged itself into his windshield. He had to get a new windshield because the thing was so, the beak was so far in the windshield.
Oh, I feel so bad for it.
So yes, technically a bird could crack the windshield, but I don't know if it would go through the windshield.
No, I've cracked a windshield before with a bird, but I've never shattered it.
Green's programming temporarily forgets the magic of windshields. Okay, but a moose to the windshield that's gonna be a lot bigger problem.
I live in a lower elevation than you see moose, but elks, that's a real problem. That's a real problem around here.
Oh, freaking white-tailed deer are a problem.
Right?
I live in Florida, and I hit a deer with my car.
No!
Back in the day, yeah.
Rip your car.
So we were coming home from the hospital because my ex was pregnant with with our oldest boy, and it's like she was having some contractions. We went to the hospital, nothing. We were driving home. It's 3 a.m.
Oh no!
And
no.
yeah. So we're driving along. We're both exhausted or whatever. She started having some issues next to me, and I was like, "Oh, we got to turn around." So I look at her to make sure she's okay, and I turn back, and the deer is just stationary in the road. So it was bad news. Dang. But we were fine. The deer was not.
The deer was not. Yeah. How was the car though?
Right.
It was totaled, but I got a new car.
I was about to say, deer. Whitetail deer will. It does not take much to mess up a car.
No.
Not at all.
It was like a Hyundai or something, so it was it was totaled pretty easily.
Easy peasy, man. All right.
Unless you guys went to hospital, go home, hits deer, go back to hospital.
Yeah, basically. Unless you guys have other ones, I think that's it for this week's top 3.
Nope, I'm good.
Yeah, that's it for me.
Nice. Thank you guys for hanging out with us and joining us for top 3. Next week, I don't know. Do we know what next week's is, Blue? You had it in there.
Video game soundtrack.
Yay! That's exciting. I think ours will be very similar.
Probably.
Maybe. But thank you guys for joining us for top 3. Remember, send us your top 3's bad habits if you're willing to share. Please keep them bad habits that are safe for work, because I'm sure there are people out there, especially in our chat right now, because I'm looking at a few of you like, don't you dare do it. But send us your top 3 bad habits, and remember, everybody loves a list.